lifting up Springfield and what Springfield has to offer culturally. It kind of spotlights the cultural diversity and richness of the city by mirroring it in the performances and activities.
Welcome to So That Reminds Me, Reminder Publishing's bi-weekly podcast discussing Western Mass news. My name is Ryan Feyre.
And I'm Tyler Garnett.
And we'll be your host for today's episode. On this week's episode, Tyler and I sat down with Kristin Neville, the co-founder and executive director of Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival, to talk about what attendees can expect when they visit this year's festival on July 10th and 11th. But first, how you doing, Tyler? How's it going today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited, full transparency, we did the interview already, so I'm excited for the listeners to hear it. But this is now the second year we've had Kristin Neville back. I remember hearing about the event last year, and I'm excited for the event this year. I didn't make it out last year, but I'm hoping to check it out this year.
Yeah, same here. Right? As I told her, I'm 5 minutes away, so
yeah.
Gotta get out there this year if the weather's nice.
Yeah, especially if you could open your window and hear it. I feel like you don't have an excuse to not go.
Yes. But beyond that, Tyler, we got to close the loop here because last time we were on together, the Knicks were in the finals.
Yes.
Now they won.
Yes.
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Knicks are NBA champions.
Go do your thing.
I did not think those words would ever come out of my mouth. I'm 26 years old. I know people have waited longer for this. Yeah. I did not think I would ever utter those words. So yes, they are NBA champions. I'm sure a lot of listeners are not happy to hear that. But I've been celebrating for the last 2 weeks, and I think I'll probably be celebrating for the next 3 months. It was exciting. I got to check out the parade. And be a part of that chaos and celebrate with other fans. So it was great.
Yes. And I know you've been telling us off air about the parade, but so you're probably sick of it. But if you want to tell listeners about what that experience was like being there, and especially with people who, like you said, have waited so long for this moment.
Yeah, it was really just a joyous occasion. I know there's a lot of bad rap, and you see the videos of people lighting buses and stuff on fire after parades or after winning some games, or especially winning the finals. But a lot of those fans might be fake fans or kind of too rowdy. I will say the parade itself was very mellow. It was very joyous. Everyone was just excited to be there. At least in my section, there was no shoving. We had plenty of room because they reached capacity at like 7:30 for the parade to start at 10. I mean, there was so many people inside. I think there was just as many people outside the event who didn't get in. I got there at 7 a.m. and that almost wasn't early enough based on when they shut everything down. So, but it was great. The route they went right by me on Broadway, and it's just so cool. I mean, there was so many people in the apartment buildings or the office buildings, sitting there on the scaffolding or dropping the confetti or the ticker tape right from the top. So it was just an experience that I will be thinking about for a long time, and one of those things that I said I have to go to, because if it takes another 53 years, I'll be 70 something, and who knows if I'll be able to go to it then. So it was just really perfect. Me and a bunch of my friends were able to go and keep the party going for the rest of the day.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's you did the right thing, I think, because I remember being in college and I actually I saw the Red Sox win it all. I saw the Patriots win it all twice.
Yep.
I didn't go to any of those. I didn't.
Really?
I was like, I think I had work one day. I think I was sick another day. I was like, you know what? It's gonna happen again.
Yeah.
And it hasn't.
And
for those two teams at least. But so I'm glad you took advantage of that. And I did text you the night that they won, and I was like,
yes,
the Mets are next.
The Mets. We got to settle down there. We have to settle down there. I think the Rangers were bad, the Mets are bad. Yes. I think all these teams have to sacrifice something for the Knicks to be good, and I'll take it if that's the case, because it was all worth it. So but we have a lot going on here locally. Story wise, we did want to get in it. It's going to be very data center centric, but I did want to touch on the East Hampton stuff, because we had Mayor Salem Derby on the podcast a few weeks ago. So since then, East Hampton has approved the override. Voters approved a $6.9 million tax override that saved a lot of catastrophic cuts, whether it was, I think it was 35 positions across the school district. At least there's 5 positions between fire and police departments, 2 public work positions,
and various other cuts across the board. So this override prevents that from happening, although there will be some minor cuts in the city. But there has been a lot that's happened since this override passed. So there is a sector of residents in East Hampton that are asking for a recount, and they actually did get enough signatures to trigger this recount. That will happen most likely before this comes out. It depends on a vote that's coming up in a couple days, but the Board of Registers is voting on when the recount will happen. So basically, the residents that are asking for this said that there are some problems with mail-in ballots, and the city clerk did confirm that there were a couple problems, but they were rectified as well. So, these envelopes were sent out again for people that had issues. But nonetheless, it seems like they're doing the recount for precautionary purposes. The vote was pretty close. It was only passed by only a couple hundred votes. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, the vote on when the recount will happen before this episode is out. But just wanted to give an update on that, and be on the lookout on reminder.com for updates. Our colleague Trent Lavakis has been following that. Yeah. So the story doesn't end with the East Hampton override. But moving on to the what's kind of been dominating the region, I would say, is the data centers. And we have two big stories that came out. First, for you, Tyler, you covered the council meeting where Holyoke the city council banned future data center developments, which put, I think there was a proposal for a data center that won't happen now because of this vote.
So they already have one data center in the city that is still able to operate. It's technically, grandfathered in, if you will. It just has a cap of how many megawatts now. But this has dominated. I believe I talked about it on the last podcast. I can't remember. I think it was before the vote took place. But, just to quickly summarize it, the proposal was there for another data center in Holyoke, but the city council and specifically the zoning ordinance committee, they wanted to try and get a use or a definition of what a data center is, and then basically say that use is not allowed anywhere in any district in the city. Obviously, throughout the multiple city council meetings and the multiple subcommittee meetings, there was couple protests outside. There was a lot of people talking during public comment when they had the opportunity, and there was a lot of debate among the city councilors. And after what seems like hours across multiple meetings, the city council voted 9-4 in favor of banning future data center developments in the city. Obviously, a lot of people wanting the ban and data centers. They thought it, obviously hurt the environment, what it could do noise-wise, what it could do for the city. They didn't think there was too many benefits. People who were against the ban, they were more just kind of arguing that they thought maybe a moratorium would be better to try and do a little bit more of a study to try and figure out what really are the cons right now of their other data centers, really straining on their resources and stuff. Obviously, some people wanted it because they didn't want to rule out any future economic development in the city. Right. So obviously, there was so many different arguments that were made, but ultimately, that's what they decided. And right now, also in the ordinance subcommittee as well, they're looking to make a committee of different people within the community, I think from different departments, city council, DPW, a member, just to do that exactly, to have a study of the data center. Not that, it's allowed right now, but just to kind of see, is this something that would be beneficial in the future, if you wanted to ever reverse it. But obviously that's, a long process and would take a while, but they still, don't want to completely rule it out, it seems like. Yeah.
And as you said, and you reported, the subcommittee did talk about a 2-year moratorium possibility.
Yes.
But that motion ended up failing, and this is where we are now. And you said there was like some uproarious applause after the vote happened during the meeting.
Yes. As soon as that got passed, the crowd, they had their signs, and they spoke out against it. There was a big row of the crowd that had to not quickly, but they had to disperse into the outside the city council chambers because there was still many items on the agenda, and that obviously took a couple hours to get to that point. Right. So there was still plenty of things that had to be done for the council members. Yep.
But speaking of moratoriums, in Westfield, their council did actually vote for a temporary 1-year moratorium on these data centers. So for listeners out there, Holyoke voted to ban these data centers. Westfield, it's a 1-year moratorium. So our colleague Amy Porter reported on this. There was also a planning board hearing. A lot of people spoke out about this, similar in Holyoke. I think the planning board meeting was like 4 hours.
Yeah,
I didn't check the time on the council meeting, but I'm sure it was a similar length. This is a similar situation where Westfield's data center, proposed data center, is really significant. It's like a $4 billion project, their proposed data center. And I think the moratorium from Amy's reporting, this data center that's proposed is not in jeopardy technically. If the permit is good, it could still go through even with this moratorium in place. The Service Star's spearheading this data center. They didn't confirm if the permit's still good, but that's where they're at with that. So that it's kind of in limbo. The project's in limbo, but it's not necessarily in jeopardy. So we'll see what happens with that. But similar situation, Amy's reporting says that a lot of people did speak out against it, but there were some people who spoke for it as well. So there were people on both sides for it. She did report that when a representative from Service Star went up to the podium, there were some boos.
Oh, jeez.
So there's some strong feelings on both sides, and strong feelings in Westfield as there were in Holyoke, I'm sure. So the data centers have been dominating the region.
I was gonna say between that and Proposition 2.5 overrides and data centers. I'm sure this conversation is not the end. Maybe for these communities at least, there's a pause. But I'm sure a bunch of other communities, they might be popping up. So obviously check out the reminder to get the latest on if your community is has a proposal going on.
Yes, definitely. Check out reminder.com. Check out whatever edition you get in the mail. And feel free to keep up on the news. But I think that's all we got, Tyler.
Yeah.
Should probably head to the interview now.
Let's do it.
So we'll get to Kristin Neville after this break.
The Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival is free and open to everyone, and it happens because the community shows up. You can help keep the music free by volunteering, becoming a sponsor, or joining the Blues to Green Jazz Club. Your support helps power the festival and the year-round work behind it, including youth arts, cultural storytelling, and community connection. If you want to lend a hand, support as a local business, or become a sustaining member, now's a great time to step in. Volunteer, sponsor, or join the Jazz Club at SpringfieldJazzFest.com. The Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival is taking place July 10th and 11th at Court Square in downtown Springfield. Hey sports fans, those incredible action shots you've been seeing in Reminder Publishing's papers? Well, now you can take them home. Reminder Printworks is making your favorite local sports photos available for purchase. The big plays, the big wins, the moments you'll never want to forget. Whether it's your kid's game-winning goal or a hometown champion lifting the trophy, those memories deserve a place on your wall. It's easy to get into the action. Just visit popqr.news/photos and find the shot that means the most to you. Don't let the great memories fade. Get in the game today with Reminder Printworks.
All right, and we are back, and we are here with Kristin Neville to talk about the Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival. Kristin, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us. And I wanted to start, before we get into the festival itself and what's happening this year, I did want listeners to get a chance to get to know you a little bit. Like, I was wondering if you could kind of tell us about yourself and the role that you play and you have played with Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival over the years.
Okay. So I founded the nonprofit organization that puts on the jazz festival. It's called Blues to Green. And that was about 13 years ago. I married into a musical family from New Orleans, the Neville family. My husband, Charles Neville, was a professional musician who toured the world with his brothers. And so being close to that and witness to the power of music, of them sharing their music with people around the world, I felt inspired to try to work with music as a vehicle to bring people together, foster unity and healing and awareness and action around, social and environmental issues. So
that's great. And, this year, like you mentioned, this is the festival's 13th year, which I'm sure is crazy to say. And I know there's a lot of different aspects. I know one of them is the music. So I was wondering if, just focusing on the music itself right now, if you could just tell the listeners a little bit about the lineup that's planned for this year.
Okay. So starting on Friday evening, July 10th, I want to let everyone know that we are moving the festival back to its original location in Court Square.
Okay.
So everyone take note. And so Friday night in Court Square, starting around 5 p.m., 5:30, we'll have a traditional big band, so swing band music with Dan Gable's Jazz Ultimate group, which the Springfield Armory is sponsoring that performance because they usually have an event around this time at the Armory commemorating when Benny Goodman's jazz orchestra performed at the Armory for the employees back in, I forget, 1943 or so. So we're partnering with them around that. Then after them is Mulatto, a Springfield favorite, a more R&B oriented band, and then finishing with David Rivera, a Puerto Rican artist who went to Berklee College of Music. So he's kind of fusing jazz and hip hop and R&B and with this contemporary sound. On Saturday, we start off with our second line parade, which will be going from the Springfield Museums at like 11 a.m. to the stage on Court Square, and led by students from the Community Music School, who will then perform on stage to kick things off. And then following them is a local band called Zikina, but the primary musician is originally from Uganda. So it's a sort of Ugandan-rooted global ensemble. And then we have a local jazz artist, Chestina Thrower, with her quartet, followed by All the Rivers, which is coming from Burlington, Vermont. So it's an immigrant-led, another global ensemble with different African and Haitian musicians. And then we move more into the jazz with Zakai Curtis, who's a Grammy-winning pianist who fuses like Afro-Cuban jazz and bebop, followed by Trinidadian trumpeter and composer Etienne Charles, who is presenting his Gullah Roots project, so kind of exploring more of the cultural history of the African diaspora through Gullah culture. And then Omar Sosa, a Cuban jazz pianist who combines Afro-Cuban roots and global sounds. And topping it all off with the funk powerhouse Dumpster Funk from New Orleans, which includes some family members of mine.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, my nephews Ivan and Ian Neville. So Ivan started the band and kind of carrying on the family funk tradition.
Nice, that's awesome. No, it seems like truly, global experience, as you were kind of just mentioning, and even beyond the music. There's a lot of other aspects of this festival. It's very multifaceted. There's the food, the vendors, the workshops, the storytelling. I was wondering if you kind of, even just beyond the music, kind of tell listeners what else attendees can kind of expect at this festival this year.
Okay. Yes, we have various family activities. We'll have an art tent for all ages, including a mural paint party. So anybody can join in on creating this mural that will go up in Springfield on the old YMCA building. And we have local food vendors and artisans. So, there's this sort of family-friendly energy in a beautiful setting in the center of downtown Springfield. And we also bring a focus on the stories and histories and lived experiences behind the music. So we have a series of workshops and talks and a couple of short film screenings. But so there'll be a workshop led by Zakai Curtis around Afro-Caribbean rhythms and jazz improvisation and harmony. And then a talk with Etienne Charles about the musical history, cultural history behind the Gullah Roots project. And then we have a Stories and Songs event with all the rivers, so focusing on the personal stories, the migration journeys, and cultural roots of the individuals that are in that group who have come from many different places. And we've invited a local arts organization, the Performance Project, which is a youth arts program. And their members come from many different places in the world, but live here in Springfield. So they'll be part of that as well. And just backing up a bit, Etienne Charles's talk, we're inviting a few local historians, those who are share local Black history and tying in with this talk about Gullah culture and history, and also how it relates to America's 250th anniversary. So, a little different perspective on American history. And then we have a couple of short film screenings. One is a project of Blues to Greens called Beyond the Storm, where that's in process, and it's focused on climate injustice and displacement and Puerto Rican community resilience in Holyoke and Springfield. And then the other short film is also focused around the Puerto Rican community in Holyoke, but a series of fires that happened in the 1970s. So something a little different. And then also musically oriented, aside from the main stage performances, there's a sort of mini second stage right there in Court Square. So in between the acts on the main stage, there'll be these little, short sets, 20 to 30 minutes long. That stage will be hosted by Lexi Weege, a singer-songwriter from Springfield, with some special guests like Pamela Means and J.J. Slater. And also around the back side of the Mass Live building, so our stage will be on the front side of that building. On the back side will be like a dance patio with some DJs, DJ Boogie, and a Latin DJ, DJ Mella, and a Latin dance lesson. So, a variety of things going on.
A lot going on. I was just about to say, as you were listing all the different events and programs, sounds like it could be a week-long event with everything you guys got going on.
I know, it's challenging to fit it all into
I know, I could
days.
imagine. And, kind of, between the musical lineups and the programs and everything like that, I know you said it's challenging, but what's the process of kind of picking everything going into it? Because I know there's a lot of, diverse genres and things you guys want to include. So could you kind of talk a little bit about the importance too of maintaining such a rich musical history, through this festival?
Yeah. So at the heart is, celebrating Black music or music of the African diaspora, really lifting that up. And as I mentioned before, having opportunities to, share the stories behind the music, and then, within that we try to mix, artists who are based locally with more national and international artists, and make that connection between the local Springfield community and people coming from, Trinidad or Cuba originally, and just drawing these connections through music, and music being a means for connecting people and bridging divides and finding commonality and inspiring a sense of that shared humanity. And so that's the goal, is to emphasize that we're part of one community, and centering Black music and its contribution to American culture and world culture.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Kristin, you mentioned at the beginning of our talk today, and also last year when you were with us, how you were married into a musical family and you traveled the world and the country. And I was wondering, how did those experiences kind of inform the Jazz and Roots Festival, if it did at all, and kind of the evolution of it? Did those experiences kind of inform how you wanted to prepare for this festival?
Yeah. I think, having sort of a worldly connection, having been part of that, and through the travels of the Neville brothers, and seeing and starting to understand more of the connections between different places, say between New Orleans and different places in the Caribbean, the certain cultural and musical elements that they share, but then the unique expressions in each of those places. And to me, how rich that is, and how, and what kind of what New Orleans represents to our country and to the world in terms of the birth of jazz and the evolution of American music in that region, that then spread out to the rest of the world, and my husband's family being part of bringing it to the world, and kind of helping to illuminate some of the history of what contributed to that happening in New Orleans, and Charles, my husband, through his life and his lived experiences, experiencing racism and the terror of a segregated society that he grew up in, and the music being a way for people to express themselves within that situation, and have a sense of freedom, and the significance of that in his life, and an awareness of that in other places who that experience similar things, and just the beauty of the these musical expressions that came out of that experience, the resilience of people, the creativity and the innovation, and jazz really representing that in a deep way, that resilience and innovation and expression of freedom, and how like jazz has traveled to these places and melded with the traditional sounds. Like we brought William Cepeda from Puerto Rico, and he was a pioneer of Afro-Puerto Rican jazz.
Nice, yeah.
His Afro-Rican jazz group, and then there's Afro-Cuban jazz, and we have Etienne Charles coming. He's from Trinidad, and so it's this weaving together of these different sounds and traditions, and it evolving in different ways in different places, but having sort of a common root.
Sure. And I think music obviously is more sometimes than just like, the words and the beats and the instruments. Obviously it can tell stories and, capture history and help people get through tough times or explains things. So I think it's really important too to kind of give a platform to, like you said, weave those things together. So that's really important. Yeah. And, I just wanted to return to the community aspect real quick of this event. What I think is so cool about the festival is it's super collaborative. It's not just performers and the audience. It's more interactive than that. The whole community participates in various ways. So, how does that collaborative spirit of the festival augment the experience for everyone there?
That it's a coming together of the community, the arts activities. We have a few different partners, Commonwealth Murals and the Performance Project and Springfield Cultural Partnership. So we're all working together to bring these arts activities together, the mural paint party. We work with the music school around the youth programming, music programming, and our Second Line Parade, and with Focus TV, and showing the performances on the big screen, and so just finding ways to work together and just bring this experience together. That it's not just one organization, but it's sort of a collaboration and partnership.
That's great.
Kristin, I was wondering if you, like, for a listener who maybe hasn't been to this festival yet, I was wondering if you can kind of just describe what, I guess, the vibes, for lack of a better word, are in downtown Springfield when this event happens. Like, I'm sure it's got to feel like celebratory, I'm sure, but I was wondering if you kind of describe what the atmosphere is like in Springfield during this 2-day event.
Yeah, it's a very joyful and celebratory experience that's welcoming to people of all walks of life and all income levels, because it is a free event. And, it's a family-friendly event. It's lifting up Springfield and what Springfield has to offer culturally. It kind of spotlights the cultural diversity and richness of the city by mirroring it in the performances and activities. So it's just, a really beautiful, joyful experience of many different people and cultures and coming together in community.
Awesome. And, I know you just mentioned it's a free event, and I also know that, donations obviously have been accepted in the past. Is that the case again this year for some of the events?
Yes. We welcome and encourage donations, because it helps us keep the festival free and accessible. So when you come, if you can make a donation as you're entering the festival, go to our website, springfieldjazzfest.com, and make a donation. We also have a new way this year to support the festival and our year-round work. It's this jazz club. So with a donation of $250 or more, you have access to the jazz club backstage and inside. So an air-conditioned space with bathrooms and
could be big. Come July, could be big.
You never know.
Exactly.
And are you expecting similar turnout from previous years? I'm sure it's weather dependent too, but
yeah, it is a rain or shine event.
Yes.
But I think we'll have probably several thousand people who come out. Awesome. But it is exciting to be going back to where we started in Court Square. I'm looking forward to that.
When was the last time you were in Court Square?
2019.
Okay.
The year after was the pandemic, and then when we came back, we were over in Stern Square.
Gotcha. So I'm sure, especially coming out of the pandemic, I'm sure that wasn't easy to plan the event. So after that, so I'm sure it's nice to go back.
It's a major milestone then.
Because they they renovated the historic building there and restored the park, so that was finally complete. And we could come back.
Well, Kristin, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. Is there anything else you wanted to add about it at all? I mean, I know there's a website if you want.
Right. Just go to springfieldjazzfest.com for more information, and there's a schedule. There's you bring lawn chairs, maybe not big umbrellas, but and no pets. And try to leave coolers at home and support the local vendors there, because we'll have a variety of food and drinks and support us if you can. It would be greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, for the listeners out there, the festival is July 10th and July 11th.
Yes.
And so thank you so much, Kristin, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
We get it. You're busy, but you want to be connected to your local community. If you're not reading The Reminder, Western Mass's free weekly newspaper, you're missing out on the heartbeat of your town. Stay in the loop with all the latest buzz, from local stories to community updates and exciting events. It's all in The Reminder. Just log on to thereminder.com and dive into the hometown news you love. To subscribe to receive The Reminder at your home, call 413-788-1316. Don't miss a beat. Your town, your stories, your community for over 60 years. The Reminder. We are hometown news.
And we are back from an interview with Kristin. How'd you feel about that, Tyler? I thought it went well. Personally, I thought it was cool how she just talked about how global this whole experience is, and how a lot of the acts come from different parts of the world, and bring different, musical styles from the world. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought not only all the different musical acts they bring from around the world, globally. Obviously, there's some local artists in there, but global. And I just think also, besides how cool it is to just probably witness the performances, there's a huge educational aspect of it between the programs and the workshops and all these things. I mean, I know I said this during the interview, but 2 days doesn't even seem like enough time. I mean, I don't know how they're able to get it done. It's a nice jam-packed 2 days, and for a free event outside of some donations if you're willing. It's really pretty cool. I definitely want to try and get to it this year, because I think the vibes and the experience in Springfield is going to be awesome.
Yeah. And even if you're not like an avid jazz fan, I think what's cool about this festival is it covers multiple genres. There's some hip hop in there. There's funk. She was talking about soul. Yeah. So there's a lot of different genres, and I think it's cool. Like, it's called the Jazz and Roots Festival, because I think jazz is like a building block of a lot of these genres. So that's so for people out there, there's a lot of different things that you'll enjoy, and it's very again, it's very multifaceted. It's very interactive. There's workshops out there. There's great food. I was looking at some of the vendors that are going to be there food-wise, and I don't know if it's just the pictures, but it looks good. The food looks good.
Didn't even think about that. Maybe it's because it's almost lunchtime too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're recording this around noon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like a really cool experience. And like I was saying in the intro, like I got to get there.
Yeah, and
so close.
Yeah, and they're back to their original spot, and Court Square, downtown Springfield. So
yeah,
I'm sure that would be nice for a lot of the people, the returners, whether you're a performer or a guest.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, check out the Jazz and Roots Festival if you're around. Again, it's July 10th and July 11th. Hoping for good weather. You never know, but we're hoping for it. So yeah. But I think that'll wrap it up for another episode of So That Reminds Me. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening to So That Reminds Me, produced by Western Massachusetts news source Reminder Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, find the latest news at thereminder.com, and follow Reminder Publishing on Instagram at Reminder Publishing, on X at The Reminder MA, and on Facebook. Reminder Publishing, we are hometown news.